What's up guys, and welcome back to another video covering Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And today we are going to be talking about Mega Evolutions. Now, when the games were initially announced, I mean it's so long ago at this point, what, 4 days? 5 days? My initial thought, hearing about how many times they sort of reinforced the point, faithful remake, faithful remake, faithful remake, I was very much lowering my expectations as that, okay, well, it's clearly just going to be Pokemon Diamond and Pearl in a different graphical style, maybe with a few small changes as we spoke about in the initial video, like possibly HMs and TMs with some tweaking, and possibly including stuff like bottle caps and so on. It didn't accept sort of many more changes past that point. However, since the reveal, there's been some information trickling around that maybe indicates that Mega Evolutions might be making a return, which is definitely interesting and definitely exciting, and maybe indicates that these games might be less of a one-to-one, as people keep referring to it, and more of a similar to Auras, where you take the base game and sprinkle in some little additions there. Maybe not to the extent of Auras, but maybe still with some changes. And it might be that they were, tempering our expectations possibly with the reveal. Just saying, here's the reveal, Diamond Pearl remakes, they're coming. Oh, by the way, there's also Legends Arceus, which we want you to pay attention to as well. And then later down the line, when we get closer to the release date, they can then say, boom, Mega Evolutions, get hype, and obviously drum up some more excitement for the games then as we get closer to release. So that's possibly one reason behind it. But this information that's come through has mostly come reported by Poker Shopper, and this is a website similar to Cerebi, reporting on Pokemon news and so on. And the particular news they covered here is about figurines. And these figurines, or this series of figurines, are made by Kotobukiya. I'm hoping I'm saying that at least somewhere near correct, and Takaratomi. And basically, they have announced in advance some figurines to be released as part of a Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl merchandise promotion. And you can see here, the listings showcase a re-release campaign of Mega Evolution, which might be an indicator that actually some stuff might be happening around Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl here. So you can see the upcoming line we have is Darkrai, Cresselia, Piplup, Mega Charizard X, Mega Lucario, and Zygarde complete. Now, of course, Darkrai and Cresselia and Piplup to an extent are definitely related to Sinnoh and Diamond and Pearl. Zygarde complete form is completely relevant, completely separate from it, at least as far as we're aware currently. But that's probably simply an outlier. So the first three are definitely related to Sinnoh. The last three is a little bit more tenuous. So Mega Charizard X and Mega Lucario, of course, are two Mega Evolutions. Now, Mega Lucario, of course, is Generation 4, so that would sort of maybe indicate, oh, well, yes, maybe it's to do with these games and so on. Whereas Mega Charizard X is not, Charmander's not even available in the game as far as I'm aware from what I remember, so it wouldn't make too much sense for Mega Charizard X to have any involvement, unless of course they are going to have some involvement, we don't know. However, thinking back to the sort of this could be one thing initially. It could be just okay, well, some figurines. Is it really related to the games? How do we know this is there precedent for this? And yes, there is, because back in 2018, the same website, Poker Shopper, announced an update where Takaratomi are publicized, or publication indicates Mega Charizard X, Mega Charizard Y, Venusaur, and Blastoise are going to be released in November, alongside the same release timing as Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. And at this point, we didn't know that Mega Evolutions were going to be in those games. And obviously, you can see it sort of worked out that where they released figurines for Mega Evolutions alongside a game that featured Mega Evolutions. So this is where a lot of people are drawing the link and saying, well, we looked at this point and we were right then, so if we apply the same logic now, boom, Mega Evolutions are going to return in Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Of course, it's nowhere near a confirmation. It could simply just be coincidence, or it could be intended. We don't know. So, Mega Charizard X being re-released is an interesting one, rather than sort of, why not do Mega Lucario and Mega Garchomp? It's a little bit strange. So, that's a little bit of a tenuous, okay, doesn't really relate to these games. Are they just re-releasing it because it sold well and maybe they just want more money? Or is there, or is it just not related to these games and maybe we're barking up the wrong tree? Who knows? But hopes are higher, I suppose, now than on the initial release or the initial reveal of Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl that Mega Evolutions will make a return. So we've got to at least consider it now, because there is something that indicates they may do. So now that we're thinking about Mega Evolutions, let's think about Mega Evolutions. If we pull up the Generation 4 Mega Evolutions, there are 5 in total. We have, of course, Lucario we've spoken about, but there is also Lopunny, Garchomp, Abomasnow, and Gallade. Of these, some of these were base Mega Evolutions, i.e. Garchomp, Abomasnow, and Lucario were in X and Y, and then Lopunny and Gallade were added as part of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. So this is one of the generations with the least representation, I suppose, in terms of Mega Evolutions. Of course, Generation 1 has a lot, Generation 2 has a few, Generation 3 has a lot as well, because of course Oras released a lot of Generation 3 Mega Evolutions because it was a remake of Generation 3. Generation 4 has, as you can see here, a few, and of course Generation 5, Generation 6, I believe just have one each in Ordino and Diancie. So we got a few here, there's not a huge amount. If we were to follow the same pattern as Oras, then we would be expecting more Generation 4 Mega Evolutions to come. We won't be speaking too much about that in this video, but it's possible. So maybe a future video covering what things, if they're going to add new Mega Evolutions, what new Mega Evolutions could we get? Maybe that in a future video. But these are the 5 Generation 4 ones that would be available, I suppose. But there's also a whole host of other Mega Evolutions in the Sinnoh Pokédex that we could also have maybe access to in the game. And if I pull those up as well, you can see we've got a few more: Alakazam, Gengar, Gyarados, Steelix, Scizor, Heracross, Houndoom, Gardevoir, Altaria, Absol, and Glalie. So they're all available at least in the Platinum Pokédex. Now we'll talk about Pokédex in a separate video about whether we're going to follow the Diamond Pearl Pokédex and the Platinum Pokédex. Well, separate video, but I've just gone for Platinum in this case because that includes everything. If you were to remove Platinum, you'd have to get rid of a few things, like Houndoom, maybe Gardevoir, maybe Absol, that sort of thing. But you can see here we've got a fair spread of Mega Evolutions in the Sinnoh Pokédex. So these are sort of the ones that you would get access to in a playthrough. Now when I say in a playthrough, that's another discussion as well. So let's say Mega Evolutions are returning in these games. How would they return? As we've already mentioned, it could be like Oras, where they actually add more Mega Evolutions, and Mega Evolutions forms part of the story in a sense. Now I think that would be probably less prominent in these games because of course Oras introduced Primal Reversion, which is effectively another type of Mega Evolution, so possibly less involved in these remakes here, where a Mega Evolution is possibly just it's spoken about and it's used, but it's not really part of the plot, So it's possible they do it that way. Another way is it's post-game, similar to how it was done in Sun, Moon, and I think also Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, where you're just sort of given it post-game and told, there you go, you can now do it, extra, which is one argument for how you can do it in these games. Don't make Mega Evolution the focus, but allow it to be in the game. When Sword and Shield came out, I think that's the path most people would have preferred it to go down, at least most people that wanted Mega Evolutions, I suppose. Have the main game be about Gigantamax, etc., and then once you finish the post game, be allowed to use Mega Evolution if you want to. So that's one other option. And the third option, I suppose, is that while they don't necessarily add new Mega Evolutions, they are still part of the main game, because of course shifting it into the post game only is definitely an option, and that helps the game itself shine, and it's not like it's another game about Mega Evolution. However, that means that for a lot of players that maybe would just play the game and be done with it, they don't really see Mega Evolutions or get to use them because they are in the post game. So the other argument is, okay, well, let's just add them to the main playthrough sort of thing. Don't make them the focus, just allow it to happen and maybe put it in a few battles, but don't make it the focus, and of course that then sort of maybe gets a bit of best of both worlds. You still get to see the main story shine without Mega Evolutions overshadowing it, and at the same time you actually get to use Mega Evolutions. Now I suppose if that had been done in Sword and Shield, you may have seen it overshadowing Dynamax and Gigantamax, particularly because there's a locked to specific battles, whereas Megas is whenever you want to. So that possibly wouldn't have worked for Sword and Shield and would have needed to be done end game. Whereas, think about Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you probably could have added Mega Evolutions to the story there. I guess Z moves is going to sort of clash with that one. So again, you could argue that well, if we've got Megas, why would I use Z moves, and so on and so forth. Whereas in the Diamond Pearl remakes, there's not really a gimmick, is there? When we say gimmick, I hate the use of the word gimmick. Well, we have to use it now. When it was just Megas on its own, it wasn't a gimmick because it was just a new gameplay element. When they added Z moves, that went into a little bit of gimmicky territory, because it was like, okay, well, we had Mega Evolutions here, now we're having Z moves. Are we just going to get another new thing next generation? And of course we did. We got Gigantamax and Dynamax, and of course Mega Evolution Z moves got removed from, not just the story, but the entire game. And at that point, it does become a gimmick, because you're just adding something new to use as some form of promotion for your current games, and then you just get rid of it in favour of something else in the future. That is a gimmick at that point. Either way, Diamond Pearl remakes and Diamond Pearl don't have a gimmick. They don't. Mega Evolutions was the first one that was sort of stand out. The older generations, of course, introduce new things as we go along. Generation 4 introduced gender differences, although that's hardly a thing nowadays. So that was where Generation 5 had the Dream World, it had grottos, it had hidden abilities, that sort of thing. But Mega Evolutions is a standout. But because there's not really a big standout in Diamond and Pearl, you could probably add Mega Evolutions to the story and it would feel normal. It's not going to overshadow another mechanic or anything like that. It would fit in quite nicely. So I could see them just adding it as part of the main story. Which brings us on to, I guess, another question, in that actually how would you get the Mega Stones? How would you get first the Keystone and then the Mega Stone? So if we look at the different games that it has appeared in, and we can talk about how the Mega Stones were acquired there. The Keystone generally is just received from, someone important. So in X and Y, it was probably from Karina, I would guess, off the top of my head. And Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, I'm pretty sure Steven gives it to you. Sun Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, I think it's probably... Is it Celio? No, it's not Celio, that's from Far Red Leaf Green. From the guys from Kalos, let's say, I'm pretty sure they're the ones to give you that. And of course, Let's Go Pikachu, I think it's probably... Is it Oak? Or is it someone else? It's maybe Oak, who knows? But it's generally an important person that gives you the Keystone that actually allows you to Mega Evolve. So I guess if we were just to pick one off the top of my head, in terms of who it would be from Diamond and Pearl, Cynthia's a pretty good choice. Have Cynthia give it to you, she's around throughout your story. She could easily pop in and say, hey, here's a Keystone, have fun. And that'd be that. Or it could be, of course, Professor Rowan is another option there. But the Mega Stones tends to be a bit more of a collectathon, in terms of going around and finding them all. So how that was handled in XY and then in Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire was finding them yourselves. They tended to be sparkles on the ground. X and Y handled this a bit strangely by most of them being only post game. You only got a few Mega Stones as part of the story. It tended to be like your Kanto starter one, Lucario and that sort of thing, whereas most of them were then post game and it had to be between a certain time of the day for them to be available, that sort of thing. And Mega Ruby Alpha Sapphire refined it much more and just made them available after a certain point in the story, scattered around the region. So that's probably the best way to do it. Sun was really quite strange. They weren't available in the game at all. They were only available through Mystery Gift, so you had to use Mystery Gift codes, and of course those were only dished out at certain points after release. So there was a long process where you just couldn't get some Mega Evolutions because they were only available through event, and those codes are all expired now, so you can't actually get them anymore. If you boot up your Pokemon Moon, you just can't get your Mega Stones. So that was a terrible way to do it, and unfortunately they changed it. I wouldn't say they fixed it in Ultra Sun, but they changed it, and they're now all available for purchase in those games, Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. And Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee just followed that same trend when they're now available for purchase, apart from a few separate ones, I do believe. So there's our options there. Collect them somewhere in the world, have them be event only, or buy them. Now, event only is, I'm pretty much sure, out of the window. It's an absolutely terrible way to do it. That we won't speak any more on that. Buying them, it works if you just want to sort of tack them on to the game, as they probably were done in Ultra Sun and Let's Go. Maybe less than Let's Go, because they are, like, I guess closer, but Ultra Sun is very much post-game only, and thus it makes sense to just tack them into a shop somewhere. And that's the easiest way to do it. And if you do want to just add it in as a, yep, you can do Mega Evolution, and yep, you can do Z moves, that sort of thing, just make them available in games somewhere, make them purchasable. Don't, no whistles and bells, just put them in there somehow. That's better than nothing. But X and Y and ORAS probably have the best idea, where you actually have to go and collect them, as opposed to just saving up your money and going and cashing in. So that's possibly the way to go. However, Sinnoh does offer us an even better option, and that is the Sinnoh Underground. Now, if you've never played Diamond and Pearl, the Sinnoh Underground is an underground set of tunnels, I suppose. It runs under the Sinnoh region, and you can, after a certain point in the story, start exploring it, and you can run around, make some secret bases, interact with friends and so on. But the main thing that's interesting to us is you can actually go mining in the Sinnoh underground in the walls, and this is used for obtaining certain things like shards, fossils, orbs, I think they're called, which is just related to the underground sort of gameplay mechanics and so on. But why not add megastones in there? Make them fairly rare possibly, and maybe make it, rather than just complete luck, maybe you have to search for them in a way. Or maybe they could be hidden in certain places in the underground, and thus when you interact with that wall there, you can do a special puzzle type deal to try and get that megastone. And you can see the example of the puzzle on the right there, where you can break certain areas of the wall down or the rock down. You've got different tools to do that and so on. So they could definitely expand this in the remakes, and as I say, include megastones in there. Either they could be completely random. Completely random might be a bit annoying though, just having to go to random walls and just keep on going, and then suddenly, oh yeah, okay, you got the megastones, nice, good job. Whereas if you put them in specific points in the underground, then one, you can gate it off per story progression to some extent. Of course, you can see on the map there, if you look carefully, there are a few areas that are completely blocked off or completely separate from others, and so to an extent you can block them off by story. All the area at the top right is locked behind post game, effectively after the Elite Four, so they can lock some megastones behind there, and then only narrow the ones that are available to you to the ones that you can get in the story, for example. So that's definitely a way they could do it. I think that would probably be quite interesting. It's probably sort of on par with the same level of engagement as hunting them in the overworld, because overworld is sort of like overworld exploration and so on. Underground, it would give some more purpose to the underground, I think, to those that don't necessarily want to do the whole secret base stuff. I was never a huge fan of it back in the day. That was mostly because I had no one to play with, but it could definitely add a little bit more to do, as opposed to, obviously you can use it for shards, for fossils and so on, but doing it for the megastones down here would be quite interesting. And it would segment it a little bit too, rather than having them be everywhere. So that's my idea there for how megastones could be added and could be obtainable in the games. And we'll mention briefly here, and we mentioned briefly already, if mega evolutions are back in these games, will it be similar to Auras, where we can have some new mega evolutions added that would increase the roster? It's possible. It's also possible not, because these again are remakes. That Auras did introduce them, but Auras in Generation 6 as a whole had a big focus on Mega Evolution. It was the generation it was introduced, and of course after that point we haven't seen any more Megas added in Generation 7 or Generation 8 so far. So it seems like they sort of, okay, we're done with Megas now, they are what they are, let's move on. However, it seems like possibly since they removed them in Sword and Shield, and also since they didn't really appear in, or didn't get any new ones in Generation 7, the popularity of Megas still persists, I believe. It's people's favourite out of all the three gimmicks in terms of Megas, Z moves and Dynamax. Obviously some people will prefer some of the others. Dynamax arguably can be better competitively as opposed to Megas, but that's a whole different conversation. Either way, some people like one, some people like another. However, Megas is probably arguably the most popular of the three. And so it may be that Game Freak and the Pokemon Company have realised their little problem, that we can't just drop Megas because we're promoting it in Pokemon Go at the moment. We're trying to sell merchandise for the Megas still. We're doing it in the anime still. Megas still pop up from time to time in the anime. So it's like we can't really just completely drop them from the main games. Maybe don't add them every single game, but maybe add some Megas here and there. So it might be that we see some more Megas in the Diamond Pearl remakes. Now, I may do a full future video on this, but of course the main thing to think about there, I think, is what important characters have signature Pokemon that could get a Mega Evolution. Because if you think to Auras, you had Steven, Mega Metagross. You had I don't know the girl's name, the girl who was related to the contests. She had Mega Altaria. Of course, you had the starters, so they're fairly intrinsic to the games. Of course, you had Maxie and Archie in the relevant games. Maxie, Mega Camerupt, Archie, Mega Sharpedo. The Elite Four, arguably, also you could say, got specific Megas for themselves. Now, Absol was already existent for Sydney, for example. Glacier got Glalie. I can't remember the other two Elite Four members now. Drake, I think it's Drake. Drake, of course, got Salamence and so on. Now, I don't want to say they got Salamence for that reason, but Salamence is his ace, so possibly they were chosen for one another, or vice versa, something like that. But in terms of thinking about Sinnoh, what Sinnoh characters are there that could get specific megas? Now Cynthia's here, but she's already got Garchomp, so that's fine. And of course we've got Cyrus. So Cyrus possibly would get a mega specified for him. Weavile is one. Who knows? There's of course the Elite Four members, whether they would get special megas, not necessarily built for them, but they would be given megas. Like for example, we've got who am I thinking now? Generation 4. We've got is it Lucius? Is it Lucius, something like that? The Psychic type Elite Four member. He could probably use Mega Alakazam, that sort of thing. So it's what megas, what trainers don't have megas that they could use currently, and would then be possibly added for them, or just generally what Generation 4 Pokemon are deserving of a mega. Something to think about as we go into the future, and maybe once megas are confirmed we can talk about it a little bit more. But that probably is months away, so we'll have to see. Either way, megas are a bit more likely to return than they were when the games were initially revealed. That's sort of as far as we can say for the moment. But of course, do let me know down below in the comment section, guys. What is your thinking on the return of megas? Are you confident that they'll be back in the remakes, or are you still sort of hesitant because they weren't in Sword and Shield? So why would they add them to a remake specifically when they weren't even part of that original game? So who knows? Let me know down below in the comment section what your thinking is, guys, and also whether you would want them back as well. As I said, Diamond Pearl doesn't really have a battle mechanic in that way, so megas could sort of fill that slot, so who knows? Let me know down below in the comments, guys. But this will be it for me for today, guys, so I hope you will have a good day. I'll be seeing you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, my friends.